Orthographic projection, a methods special, where we're going to have 4 different methods for projecting from plan to end view or vice versa.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson in orthographic projection. So, interestingly enough, I had a couple of questions from a couple of students of my own and also online about orthographic projection and methods of projection. For example, in a video I posted recently, I used a particular method to project from the end view to the plan view or vice versa from the plan to the end view. Now that method is the 45-degree direct line method. Now, however, there are a number of ways in which we can project from end view to plan or plan to end view, vice versa. Now, in order to kind of hone this down for you, I'm going to go through 4 methods for bringing your points from either end view to plan view or plan view to end view, vice versa. Okay, so the first one here is called the 45-degree direct line method. The second one here is called the 45-degree swing line method. The third one here is the YY line method. And then the fourth one here is the compass rotation method. Okay, so I'm going to keep it all in shot here. So basically I have this L block here. Okay, there's a little sketch of it, and this is, we're doing 4 separate orthographics here, and you can see the colours match with the surfaces. So looking in the direction of arrow A, we see the L profile and it is pink in each of the elevation views. Looking down on top from the arrow C, we see the plan view and we see the orange surfaces, as you can see. And then looking in from the end view, the direction of arrow B, we see the blue surfaces, as you can see in this example here. Now I just randomly kind of selected, end view, so on. Okay, so first one, 45-degree direct line method. Very simple. Okay, so for example, I get my 45-degree set square. Okay, very important. Okay, that you're using your 45-degree set square, or sometimes I call it the isosceles set square because there are 2 angles the same on it. Okay, now what I do here to transfer my measurements from my plan to form my end view, and remember here that everything is connected up. Like we have our elevation here, and directly below it we have our plan view. I have very light projection lines connecting the views and so on. And likewise, when I get up here to the end view, we'll transfer our heights across. But to get to that position, what we do is the points on the side of the plan view, we bring those at 45 degrees up to the XY line. And you see the XY line in each of the views is that heavy line, or the ground line if you wanted to call it. Okay, so there's one projection line, and there's another projection line. Okay, 45 degrees. You see the way I was using the T-square and the set square together to do that, to make sure that I am accurately applying the 45 degrees. Now, for example, if you were wondering about these points in here, okay, and you were thinking, do I need to bring these at 45 degrees as well? No, you do not. Okay, we only ever take the points at the very edge of the plan view. Alright, and we can assume that, for example, this point here travels along this line across to the very edge and is brought up. Okay, so in a sense we have 3 points here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and they are all brought by this single 45-degree line, which is coming from the point that is on the edge of the plan view. So if I had a point inside here, okay, randomly, if I had one located on a surface that I had to bring, I would bring that point directly across to the edge of the plan view first, and then I would bring it at 45 degrees and I would bring it into its position in the end view. Okay, now I want to form my end view. So what I'll do here is I will project now across from my top of my elevation. I will project across like so, and I'll also take the line there that's in the middle of the L profile. I'll take that across. You don't have to be accurate with those lines in the sense of the length of them. They can be any length. Project them on across if you want, as long as you like. Just make sure they are perfectly horizontal and drawn with a T-square. Now, from where those lines, the 45-degree lines, hit the XY line, I am now going to bring those points up. Okay, and what you see here now, those construction lines, and I'm doing everything in red so it's nice and clear on the visualizer, I can now go and heavy in those lines. Okay, And in fact it should look pretty much like the end view that we have in the next example. Okay, so I heavy them in like so, and then, and for the sake of it here, I'll just apply a little bit of colour very, very quickly, okay, just to conclude this method. Very, very light. When I am shading in, I tend to shade heavy toward the border lines and very lightly then, and I always use a colouring pencil. Don't use markers, and certainly don't marker over your lines. Okay, now that is my end view complete using this particular example, end view. Okay, and that's a 45-degree line method. Okay, so 45-degree direct line method. Now, moving on to the next example, the swing line method. So what are we doing here? Well, in fact, in this example, let's say we're going to go end view to plan view. Okay, and it doesn't matter, you can do it the opposite way as well. I'm going to pick the corner point of my elevation right here. We'll call that point O. And from point O, I'm going to use my 45-degree set square to draw a line at 45 degrees. Okay? And I want to draw that line nice and accurately. And don't worry about the length of that line. Just draw it at 45 degrees. Okay? Now what I'm going to do, in order to transfer my points around, I'm going to take my points directly down from my end view and then across into my plan view. So, for example, same rules apply here. We can only take points that are on the XY line. And remember that the points above, say for example this point here on the XY line, this point represents the points that are above it as well. So they all get brought on the single line. Okay? Actually, just before I do that, I will put some directional arrows here just to show the direction I went with the projections that I have made here. Okay? Now, then we'll do 45 degrees straight down. So, projecting my lines straight down to hit the swing line at 45 degrees. So I bring it like so, and like so. And now what I'm going to do, where those lines intersect the 45 degree swing line, I'm going to bring those points directly across now. Like so. Bring that across, and don't worry about the length of that line, just bring it across. Of course I have everything pre-marked, so everything is lining up for me. Then what I do is I bring my lines down from my elevation. So I bring the first line down, like so. I bring the second line down, the one in the middle of the L profile. Okay, apologies about that. Straight down, and then finally this one right here. Okay, and now you can see what I have got there is I have the outline of my plan view. And again, I'll put some directional arrows in there just to show the direction of the projections in this particular example. Obviously, if I was going from plan, those arrows would be going from the other side, wouldn't they? Now, so I'll heavy in my lines like so, and I will heavy the bottom and that bit there. And of course this is a plan view, so we'll apply a little bit of orange here. Okay, and that pretty much concludes the 45 degree swing line method. Okay, we call that plan. Now, once I have that plan, and apologies there about the overrun and the colour there, okay, so remember, just a quick recap on this one. From the corner point of your elevation, 45 degree line, we call that the swing line, and then we drop our points down from the end view, okay, bring them across, and that bring the points down from the elevation, and that forms our view. Now, method 3, which is a slight bit different, but this method is called the swing line method, okay, or sorry, the YY line method, YY line. So why do we use this line? Pardon the pun. Okay, what we are going to do here is, for example, let me say I'm going to mark out 10 millimeters like so, and I'm going to take that line and I'm going to draw it straight. So come out 10 millimeters, draw your YY line, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this YY line to form my end view. How am I going to do that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to project directly across from the plan view the points on the edge of the plan, like so. And I'll put directional arrows in there. And I'll then, where those lines hit the YY line, I will project at 45 degrees, like so, up to the XY line. Okay, so this is very similar to the 45 degree direct line method, except we're putting in this YY line. Okay, and we can do it vice versa, of course. Now, what I'll do is I will take my lines across from my elevation, just like I did in the example above, and I'll bring the lines up from the plan view, or from the XY line, like so. And now you'll see that I have the points all lining up like so, and thus giving me my end view. Okay, and again, a nice, simple, accurate method. And what I'll do here now is I will lightly colour that in, just to complete out that particular view. And of course I always label my view as well. You can use guidelines when you're writing. For these examples I just need to be a little bit quicker. Okay, so that's the YY line. So you can position it any distance out. I could position it, doesn't have to be 10 mil, could be 100 mil away. Okay, and that's like any of the gaps between the views. Alright, so if you decide like 10 mil, 20 mil here, that's fine. Okay, alright. Now the final method, the rotation method, probably the least popular method, but we'll go through it. Why? Because sometimes compass work can be a little bit difficult. But what we're going to do here first, go to the elevation, mark point 0 in the corner of the elevation, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my compass here, okay, and I'm using just my compass here with a red marker in it, so everything's nice and visible. And I'm going to put the point of the compass on point O, and I'm going to measure down to the points in the plan view. So for example, I'll measure down to the edge point here in plan, and I'm going to swing it around. And then keep the compass on point O and stretch it down to the next point on the edge of the plan view, and swing that around. Okay? And again, I'll put some directional arrows there, like so, so you can see the direction of the swing. Remember, compass always on that point O. And then what I can do is I can do the very same as the previous views. I can take across my points there for my from my elevation, bring them straight across. Remember, always using the t-square and z-square together, and then likewise bring your points up from your XY line as accurately as you can, using t-square and z-square together to keep those lines perfectly vertical. And then we can heavy in our end view. And again, to complete that off, I'll just write in end view here. And then I'll get my bit of colour and I'll apply that there, like so. And that is the 4 examples complete. 45 degree direct line method, 45 degree swing line method, YY line method, and compass rotation method. Okay, so thanks for tuning in, and remember to click and subscribe for more amazing content.